When Zaria Bell was left standing alone at the altar, her humiliation became the world's entertainment as the video went viral. But in the back of that chapel sat billionaire CEO Cassian Vale, who saw not a broken woman, but someone whose strength shone through her pain. What began as a simple act of kindness soon blossomed into something deeper, as two wounded hearts discovered they could heal together. However, their newfound love would face its greatest test when Cassian's vengeful ex-fiancée orchestrated a scheme that threatened to destroy everything they'd built. Before we start this story, comment below from where you are watching us. The morning sun shone brightly on the ivy-covered chapel. White roses and lilies decorated every corner, their sweet scent filling the air. Zaria Bell stood in the small side room, looking at her reflection in the mirror. Her pearl-white wedding gown, sewn by her grandmother's hands before she passed, fit her perfectly. At 29, Zaria had waited for this moment her entire life. "You look beautiful," said her mother Martha, adjusting Zaria's veil. "Like an angel." Zaria smiled, but her stomach was in knots. She hadn't heard from Marcus since yesterday. He'd seemed distant at the rehearsal dinner, barely looking at her while talking to his friends. "Has anyone seen Marcus today?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Her mother glanced at her father, who shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sure he's just running late, honey," Martha said, patting Zaria's hand. "You know how men are on their wedding day." Nervous. Zaria nodded, though the knot in her stomach tightened. The chapel was filled with 200 guests, family members, friends, co-workers, and Marcus's boss, Cassian Vale, the billionaire CEO of Vale Tech Communications. Zaria had never met him, but Marcus talked about him constantly. How brilliant he was, how wealthy, how respected. "It's time," her father said, offering his arm. Zaria took a deep breath and stepped out with him. The music started. Everyone stood, turning to look at her. Some smiled, some took pictures with their phones. She clutched her bouquet of white roses and focused on the altar ahead, where Marcus should be waiting. But the spot was empty. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Zaria's steps faltered. Her father squeezed her arm. "Keep going," he whispered. "Maybe he's just in the bathroom." They reached the altar. The minister looked uncomfortable, glancing at his watch. "He'll be here," Zaria said, her voice small. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Zaria stood alone at the altar, her bouquet trembling in her hands. The crowd grew restless. Chairs squeaked as people shifted. Someone coughed. Someone snickered. "Maybe we should call him," her mother suggested, her face flushed with embarrassment. Zaria's bridesmaid, Tanya, had already tried. "It goes straight to voicemail," she whispered. That's when Zaria saw it. Her cousin Darlene was showing something on her phone to the people around her. They gasped. Some covered their mouths. Some looked at Zaria with pity. "What is it?" Zaria asked, her voice breaking. No one answered. Then her younger brother, James, snatched the phone from Darlene and looked at it. His face hardened. "Don't," Darlene said, trying to grab it back. But James was already walking to Zaria. He handed her the phone without a word. It was Marcus's Instagram, posted 1 hour ago. A selfie of him on a plane, champagne glass in hand, with a blonde woman kissing his cheek. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to follow your heart." "Vegas, baby." The phone slipped from Zaria's hand, clattering on the floor. The sound echoed through the silent chapel. Then the whispers started again, louder this time. "She must have known he'd leave. I heard he was cheating for months." Poor thing. So humiliating. Someone took a video. Someone else laughed. Zaria felt like she couldn't breathe. The white roses in her bouquet blurred as tears filled her eyes. "I think we should go," her father said, reaching for her arm. But Zaria couldn't move. Her legs felt like they were cemented to the floor. This couldn't be happening. Not to her. Not after all the planning, all the dreaming. Most guests were already leaving, talking in hushed tones, some not even bothering to hide their phones as they recorded her shame. From the back row, a tall man with dark hair watched the scene unfold. Cassian Vale had only come because Marcus worked in his marketing department. He'd barely known the groom, had never met the bride. But as he witnessed her standing alone, abandoned in front of everyone she knew, something in his chest tightened. While others laughed or gossiped, Cassian remained seated, his face serious. He watched as the chapel emptied, as Zaria's family tried to comfort her, as they eventually led her away from the altar, leaving her alone in the front pew, head bowed, veil wilted. When everyone else had gone, Cassian approached her quietly. He didn't say anything at first, just took out his business card and placed it gently on the pew beside her. Zarya looked up, her makeup streaked with tears, her eyes red and swollen. "This doesn't define you," Cassian said softly. "But if you ever want to talk to someone who sees what they all missed, call me." Then he turned and walked away, leaving Zarya staring at the small white card. The next few weeks were a blur. Zarya shut down her social media accounts after seeing the hashtag #Elles left at the altar trending with her name attached. The video of her standing alone had gone viral. Strangers were commenting, making memes, turning her pain into entertainment. She quit her job as an elementary school teacher. She couldn't bear the thought of facing the parents, the pitying looks, the questions from the children. She stopped answering calls, even from friends. She only spoke to her parents, who were worried sick about her. "You need to get out of that apartment," her mother said during one of her visits, looking around at the drawn curtains, the takeout containers, the unwashed dishes. "Come stay with us for a while." But Zarya couldn't. Her parents' house was too close to the chapel, too close to the neighbors who had been at the wedding, too close to the memories. One rainy afternoon, 3 weeks after what should have been the happiest day of her life, Zarya was cleaning out her purse when she found it, the business card. The ink was slightly smudged from being in her purse for so long, but the name was still clear. Cassian Vale, CEO, Vale Tech Communications. She remembered his face. Serious, kind, the only person who hadn't looked at her with pity or amusement. Her hands shook as she took out her phone. She didn't call. She couldn't bear to hear another human voice. Instead, she sent a simple text. "Thank you." She didn't expect a reply. Why would a billionaire CEO remember her? Why would he care about some woman who got left at the altar? But an hour later, her phone buzzed. "If you're ready to stop surviving and start healing, as I'm still here." Zarya stared at the message for a long time, tears blurring her vision. For the first time in weeks, she felt something other than shame and despair. She felt seen. Their messages started small, brief exchanges about nothing important. The weather, a book Cassian was reading, a show Zarya had watched. "Why are you doing this?" she texted him one night. "Doing what?" he replied. "Talking to me. You don't even know me." His response came after a few minutes. "I know what it's like to feel alone in a crowd, to have people look at you but not see you." Zarya didn't know what to make of that. Cassian Vale was one of the most successful men in the city. His face was on business magazines. His company was worth billions. How could someone like him understand what she was going through? But as the days passed, their messages grew longer, more personal. She learned that Cassian had been raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs to put him through college, that he'd built his company from nothing, that despite his success, he had few real friends. "People want to be around me because of what I can do for them," he wrote, "not because of who I am." Zarya understood that all too well. She'd been the perfect girlfriend, the perfect fiancée, always saying the right thing, doing the right thing, being what Marcus wanted her to be, and in the end, it hadn't been enough. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she confessed one night. "I spent so long trying to be what everyone expected." "Maybe that's where you start," Cassian replied, "finding out who you are when no one's watching." Slowly, Zarya began to emerge from her cocoon of shame. She started going for walks in the early morning, when the streets were empty. She visited the library, losing herself in books. She even applied for a part-time job at a small flower shop near her apartment. "I got the job," she texted Cassian. "I'm proud of you," he wrote back. "That takes courage. It's just a flower shop. It's a step forward. That's what matters." She took more steps. She went to therapy. She had coffee with Tanya, her former bridesmaid. She even let her brother James take her to dinner. "You seem better," James said, studying her face across the table. "I'm getting there," Zarya replied. "Is there someone new?" he asked hesitantly. Zarya thought of Cassian. They'd never met in person since that day at the chapel. Their relationship existed entirely in text messages, but somehow he had become important to her, a lifeline, a friend. "No," she said, "just a friend." But that night, as she lay in bed, she reread their messages and wondered if that was still true. 2 months after the wedding that wasn't, Zarya was arranging roses in the flower shop when the bell over the door jingled. She looked up with a practiced smile, which froze when she saw who it was. Cassian Vale stood in the doorway, tall and imposing in a dark suit. He looked exactly as she remembered, except his eyes were warmer than she'd thought. "Hi," he said simply. "Hi," she echoed, suddenly conscious of her simple jeans and t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. "I was in the neighborhood," he said, though they both knew that was unlikely. The flower shop was miles from the Vailtech headquarters. "Would you like to buy some flowers?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. He smiled. "Actually, I was wondering if you'd have dinner with me. Tonight." Zaria's heart raced. This was different from texting. This was real, scary. "I don't know," she said honestly. "We can just talk," Cassian said, "like we've been doing, just face to face for a change." Zaria looked at him, really looked at him. He wasn't just a billionaire CEO. He was the man who had seen her at her worst moment and offered kindness instead of judgment. The man who had been patient, respectful, understanding. "Okay," she said finally. "Dinner would be nice." His smile widened, genuine and warm. "I'll pick you up at 7. She nodded, her own smile coming more easily now. As he turned to leave, Zaria called after him. "Cassian?" He looked back. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me." "I've always seen you, Zaria," he replied softly, "from the first moment." And as he walked out, Zaria felt something new bloom in her chest. Not quite hope, not quite love, but something tender and fragile that with care might grow into both. As Cassian's car pulled away from the flower shop, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. His assistant's name flashed on the screen. "Yes, Rebecca," he answered. "Sir, Marcus Peterson is here to see you. He says it's urgent." Cassian's jaw tightened at the name. Marcus Peterson, the man who had left Zaria at the altar, the man who still technically worked for Vailtech. "Tell him I'll be there in 20 minutes, Cassian said, his voice hard. He ended the call and gripped the steering wheel tighter. What could Marcus possibly want? And how would this affect Zaria, who was finally starting to heal? As Cassian drove toward his office, dark clouds gathered overhead, mirroring the storm brewing inside him. Whatever Marcus wanted, Cassian was determined to protect Zaria from any more pain. The real test of their newfound connection was about to begin. Cassian strode through the glass doors of Vailtech Communications, his face set in a hard expression. Employees scrambled out of his way, sensing his mood. He hadn't expected to see Marcus Peterson again, not after what the man had done. "He's waiting in your office, sir," Rebecca said as Cassian passed her desk. Cassian nodded and pushed open his office door. Marcus stood by the window looking out at the city below. He turned when Cassian entered, a practiced smile on his face. "Cassian, thanks for seeing me on such short notice," Marcus said, extending his hand. Cassian ignored it, walking to his desk. "What do you want, Marcus?" Marcus's smile faltered. "Right, down to business." He cleared his throat. "I was hoping to get my job back. The Vegas thing, it was a mistake. I've been trying to reach HR, but no one will return my calls." "You were fired 2 weeks ago," Cassian said coldly, "for abandoning your responsibilities without notice." "Come on, man." "Everyone deserves a second chance," Marcus said, spreading his hands. "Look, I know I messed up, but I'm great at my job. The Henderson account? That was all me." "This isn't about your job performance," Cassian said. "It's about character." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Is this about Zaria? Because that's personal, not professional." "Your actions showed me exactly who you are," Cassian said, standing up. "Vailtech doesn't need people like you." "People like me?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "What, you've never made a mistake? You've never hurt anyone?" "I've made plenty of mistakes," Cassian said, "but I don't humiliate people for sport." Marcus's face darkened. "You don't know anything about me and Zaria. That relationship was dead long before the wedding. She was clingy, always trying to please everyone but herself. It was exhausting." Cassian's hands clenched into fists. "Get out of my office." "Gladly," Marcus said, moving toward the door. He paused with his hand on the knob. "Just so you know, I've heard you've been talking to her. Be careful. Zaria's not as innocent as she seems. She's been playing the victim her whole life." The door slammed behind him. Cassian stood there, breathing hard, trying to control his anger. He knew Marcus was just lashing out, trying to hurt anyone he could, but his words lingered in Cassian's mind as he prepared for his dinner with Zaria. Zaria changed her outfit 3 times before settling on a simple blue dress. Not too fancy, not too casual. Her hands shook as she applied her makeup, the first time she'd worn any since the wedding day. At exactly 7 o'clock, her doorbell rang. When she opened it, Cassian stood there in a dark suit, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. "These reminded me of you," he said, handing them to her. "Beautiful without trying to be." Zaria blushed, taking the flowers. "Thank you. Come in for a minute while I put these in water." Cassian stepped into her small apartment, looking around with interest. There were books everywhere, stacked on tables, lined up on shelves. In the corner was a piano covered with sheet music. "You play?" he asked, nodding toward it. "I used to," Zaria said, filling a vase with water. I haven't touched it in a while. Why not? She shrugged. Marcus thought it was a waste of time. He said no one wants to listen to classical music anymore. Cassian frowned. What do you think? The question caught her off guard. For so long her opinions had been shaped by others, what they wanted, what they expected. I think music is never a waste of time, she said finally, especially when it's something you love. Cassian smiled. I agree. He took her to a small Italian restaurant tucked away on a quiet street. Not flashy, not exclusive, but warm and inviting with red-checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. This is lovely, Zarya said as they were seated in a corner booth. It was my mother's favorite place, Cassian said. She used to bring me here on special occasions. Used to? Zarya asked gently. She passed away 5 years ago, Cassian said. Cancer. I'm sorry, Zarya said, reaching across the table to touch his hand. She was an amazing woman, Cassian said. Raised me by herself, worked as a nurse, always on the night shift, so she could be home when I got back from school. She sounds wonderful. She was. Quiet but strong. She taught me that the loudest people often have the least love to give. He paused. What about your parents? Zarya sipped her water. They're good people, very involved in the community, very concerned with appearances. My dad's a pastor. My mom runs all the church committees. They raised me to be a good girl, follow the rules, make everyone happy. And that's what you did? She nodded. I tried. I was the perfect daughter, the perfect student, the perfect girlfriend. I thought if I did everything right, I'd get my happy ending. And then Marcus left. Her eyes clouded. And then Marcus left. In front of everyone. The whole town saw it. My father's congregation, my students' parents, everyone. She looked down at her plate. My mother called it an unfortunate public embarrassment, as if the problem was that it happened in public, not that it happened at all. Cassian's jaw tightened. Earlier today, Marcus came to my office. Zarya's head snapped up. What? Why? He wanted his job back. And? I said no. Zarya let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Thank you. The waiter brought their food, and they ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Can I ask you something? Zarya said finally. Anything. Why did you give me your card that day, at the chapel? Cassian put down his fork, considering the question. I saw something in you that reminded me of myself, that feeling of being surrounded by people but completely alone. But you're successful, respected. Everyone knows your name. They know my name, not me, Cassian said. Before my mother died, she was the only person who really saw me. Not the CEO, not the billionaire. Just me. He met Zarya's eyes. When I saw you standing there, alone in that chapel, I recognized that same loneliness. And I thought maybe we could be less lonely together. Zarya felt tears prick her eyes. I'd like that, she whispered. Over the next few weeks, Zarya and Cassian fell into a comfortable routine. They texted throughout the day and had dinner together several times a week. Cassian introduced her to his favorite books. Zarya took him to hidden spots in the city she loved. One evening, he arrived at her apartment with a serious expression. What's wrong? She asked, letting him in. Nothing's wrong, he said. But I want to show you something. Will you come with me? They drove in silence out of the city into the wealthier suburbs. Finally, they pulled up to a large stone house set back from the road. Is this yours? Zarya asked, surprised. Somehow, she'd imagined him living in a sleek downtown penthouse. It was my mother's, Cassian said. She bought it after I made my first million. Said every nurse deserved a garden after spending so many years under fluorescent lights. He led her through the house, simply furnished but warm and inviting, to a back door that opened onto a garden. Despite the fading light, Zarya could see roses, tulips, daisies, all carefully tended. It's beautiful, she said. My mother loved flowers, Cassian said. She said they reminded her that beauty can grow from the darkest places. He took Zarya's hand. I haven't brought anyone here since she died, but I wanted to share it with you. Zarya felt the weight of his trust, the gift he was giving her by showing her this private part of his life. Thank you, she said softly, for trusting me with this. Cassian looked down at their joined hands. Zarya, I need to tell you something. Her heart skipped a beat. What is it? I'm falling in love with you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I know it's too soon. I know you're still healing, but I can't keep pretending these feelings aren't real. Zarya's eyes filled with tears. Not sad tears, but the kind that come when something inside you that's been broken for so long finally starts to mend. It's not too soon, she said. I feel it too. He looked at her, Hope and fear mingled in his eyes. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle, tender, a promise of things to come. When they broke apart, Zarya smiled through her tears. "I never thought I'd feel this again. Trust. Hope. You deserve all of it," Cassian said, and more. The next morning, Zarya arrived at the flower shop humming to herself. For the first time in months, she felt truly happy, truly herself. "Someone's in a good mood," said Elaine, the shop owner, a kind woman in her 60s. "I had a nice evening," Zarya said, tying on her apron. "With that handsome man who came in yesterday?" Elaine asked with a knowing smile. Zarya blushed. "Yes. Good. You deserve some happiness, dear." The morning passed quickly, with Zarya arranging bouquets and helping customers. Just before lunch, the bell over the door jingled. Zarya looked up, expecting to see another customer. Instead, Marcus stood there. She froze, the scissors in her hand clattering to the counter. "Hello, Zarya," he said, as if they'd just seen each other yesterday, as if he hadn't left her at the altar and humiliated her in front of everyone she knew. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "I wanted to talk to you," Marcus said, stepping closer. "Explain." "There's nothing to explain," Zarya said, backing up. "Please leave." "Zarya, come on. We were together for 3 years. Don't I at least get a chance to apologize?" "Apologize?" Zarya felt anger rising in her chest, replacing the fear. "You left me at the altar. You posted pictures with another woman while I was standing there in my wedding dress. You made me a joke." "I made a mistake," Marcus said, looking genuinely contrite. "The biggest of my life. I miss you, Z. I miss us." Zarya stared at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. "There is no us, Marcus. Not anymore." "Is this because of Vale?" Marcus asked, his expression hardening. "Because he's my boss? Or ex-boss, I should say. How do you know about Cassian?" "People talk," Marcus said dismissively. "Look, I get it. He's rich, powerful, but he doesn't know you like I do." "He doesn't love you like I do." "Love me?" Zarya laughed bitterly. "You have a funny way of showing it." "I panicked," Marcus said, running a hand through his hair. "The wedding, all those people watching. I felt trapped, but I've had time to think, to realize what I threw away." He reached for her hand. "Give me another chance, Z, please." Zarya pulled her hand away. "No, I'm not that person anymore, Marcus. I'm not going to pretend everything's okay, just to make you feel better." "It's him, isn't it?" Marcus's voice hardened. "Vale's turned you against me." "Cassian has nothing to do with this," Zarya said firmly. "This is about me, about what I want, and I don't want you." Marcus's face darkened. "You'll regret this, Zarya. Vale isn't who you think he is. Ask him about Angela Winters. Ask him what happened to her." Before Zarya could respond, Elaine emerged from the back room. "Is everything okay out here?" "Everything's fine," Zarya said, not taking her eyes off Marcus. "Mr. Peterson was just leaving." Marcus held her gaze for a moment longer, then turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. Zarya let out a shaky breath, her hands trembling. "Who was that?" Elaine asked, concern in her voice. "My ex-fiancé," Zarya said, "the one who left me at the altar." "Oh dear," Elaine said, patting Zarya's arm. "Are you all right?" Zarya nodded, but inside her mind was racing. Who was Angela Winters? And what did Marcus mean when he said Cassian wasn't who she thought he was? She thought about texting Cassian to ask, but something held her back. Last night had been so perfect, so genuine. She didn't want to taint it with Marcus's venom, but as she went back to arranging flowers, his words echoed in her mind. What if there was something Cassian wasn't telling her? What if she was setting herself up for heartbreak all over again? That evening, Cassian picked her up for dinner, his smile fading when he saw her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, touching her cheek gently. "Marcus came to the flower shop today," Zarya said. Cassian's expression darkened. "What did he want?" "To apologize. To get back together." She hesitated. "And to warn me about you." "Warn you?" "He mentioned someone named Angela Winters," Zarya said, watching Cassian's face carefully. "He said I should ask you what happened to her." Cassian's face went pale. He stepped back, running a hand through his hair. "I see. Who is she, Cassian?" He was quiet for a long moment, his eyes distant. "Angela was my fiancée," he said finally. 5 years ago." Zarya felt her stomach drop. "What happened?" "I left her," Cassian said, his voice hollow. "A week before our wedding." Zarya stared at him, unable to process what she was hearing. Cassian, her Cassian, who had been so kind, so understanding, had done the same thing to another woman that Marcus had done to her. "Why?" she whispered. Cassian met her eyes, his own filled with pain and regret. Because I found out she was only marrying me for my money. She'd been having an affair with my best friend for months. They had plans to divorce me after a year and take half of everything I had. How did you find out? My mother, Cassian said. She overheard them talking at our engagement party. She told me right away, showed me texts on Angela's phone that proved it. Zarya let out a breath. So you didn't just abandon her? You had a reason. Of course I had a reason, Cassian said, looking hurt that she would think otherwise. But in Angela's version, I left her for no reason, called off the wedding out of nowhere. She made sure everyone believed her side of the story. Why didn't you tell people the truth? My mother was dying, Cassian said. I didn't want to spend her last months dealing with gossip and drama, so I let people think what they wanted. I focused on what mattered, being with her. Zarya moved toward him, taking his hands in hers. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have doubted you. No, Cassian said. You were right to ask. After what you've been through, you deserve complete honesty. He paused. There's more you should know. What? Angela works for one of Vailtech's competitors now. She's been trying to take down my company for years. And Marcus, he was feeding her information. That's the real reason I fired him, not just because of what he did to you. Zarya felt cold all over. So today, at the shop, he was probably trying to drive a wedge between us, Cassian said. Create doubt. It almost worked, Zarya admitted. I don't blame you, Cassian said. Trust isn't easy, especially after what you've been through. What we've both been through, Zarya corrected him. Cassian pulled her close. The difference is, you were innocent. I at least had a warning, a chance to protect myself. It still hurt you, Zarya said, resting her head against his chest. We're both damaged, Cassian, but maybe that's okay. Maybe we can heal together. He lifted her chin, looking into her eyes. I'd like that. As they held each other, Zarya felt a sense of peace wash over her. Cassian had been hurt too. He understood her pain in a way no one else could, and despite everything, he was still willing to open his heart to her. But outside, watching from his car parked across the street, Marcus Peterson seethed with anger. He wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Cassian Vale had taken his job, and now he was taking Zarya. Well, two could play at that game. He picked up his phone and dialed. Angela. It's Marcus. I think I've found a way to get back at Vale, and it involves his new girlfriend. On the other end of the line, Angela Winters smiled. Tell me everything. 1 month later, Zarya sat at her piano for the first time in over a year. Her fingers hovered over the keys, hesitant at first, then pressing down gently. The notes filled her small apartment, rusty but familiar. She smiled as the music came back to her, a piece she had loved since childhood. Cassian watched from the doorway, a cup of coffee in his hand, his eyes soft with admiration. Over the past month he had watched Zarya transform. She laughed more. She stood taller. She spoke her mind. This wasn't the broken woman he had met in the chapel. This was Zarya as she was meant to be. Strong, confident, real. That was beautiful, he said when she finished playing. Zarya turned, her face flushed with pleasure. It's coming back slowly. I'm still making mistakes. I didn't hear any mistakes, Cassian said, sitting beside her on the bench. I just heard you. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. Thank you for encouraging me to play again. I didn't do anything, Cassian said. You decided to pick it up again. All I did was listen. That's not nothing, Zarya said. You listened when I said I missed it. Marcus always talked over me when I brought it up. Cassian's jaw tightened at the mention of Marcus, but he kept his voice even. How are you feeling about the flower shop's grand reopening tomorrow? Elaine had decided to renovate the shop, expanding into the vacant space next door. She had promoted Zarya to manager, giving her full control over the new design and inventory. Nervous, Zarya admitted, but excited too. I never thought I'd be doing something like this. You're going to be amazing, Cassian said, kissing the top of her head. Everyone will love it. I hope so, Zarya said. She turned to face him. Will you really be able to make it? I know you have that big meeting with the board. I've rescheduled it, Cassian said. This is important to you, so it's important to me. Zarya felt a warmth spread through her chest. She still wasn't used to having someone who put her first, who valued her dreams and aspirations. I love you, she said softly. Cassian's eyes widened. It was the first time she had said those words to him. He cupped her face in his hands. I love you too, Zarya. More than I ever thought possible. He kissed her, gentle at first, then with increasing passion. Zarya melted into him, feeling safe, cherished. loved. When they broke apart, Cassian reached into his pocket. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small velvet box. Zaria's heart stuttered. "It's not what you think," Cassian said quickly, seeing the flash of panic in her eyes. "We're not there yet. I know that." He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a tiny piano. "To celebrate your music coming back to you," he said. Tears filled Zaria's eyes as he fastened it around her wrist. "It's perfect," she whispered. "Like you," Cassian said, his voice husky with emotion. As they held each other, neither of them noticed the car parked across the street, or the woman inside it watching them through binoculars. Angela Winters lowered the binoculars, a cold smile on her face. "Enjoy it while it lasts, Cassian," she murmured. "Tomorrow your perfect little world comes crashing down." The next morning dawned bright and clear. Zaria arrived at the flower shop early, her stomach fluttering with excitement and nerves. The renovation was complete, transforming the small, cramped space into a light-filled oasis of flowers and plants. In the corner was a small cafe area where customers could enjoy coffee and pastries while surrounded by blooms. "It's beautiful, dear," Elaine said, coming to stand beside her. "You've done an amazing job." "We did it together," Zaria said, squeezing the older woman's hand. "No, this was all you," Elaine insisted. "I just signed the checks." They worked together, arranging the final displays before the 10 a.m. grand reopening. Zaria kept checking her phone, smiling at encouraging texts from Cassian. "He's quite something, your young man," Elaine observed with a twinkle in her eye. "Yes, he is," Zaria agreed, her face softening. At 9:45, the first customers began to gather outside. Zaria recognized many of them, regular clients, neighbors, even a few parents of her former students. She was surprised by how many people had come to support her. At precisely 10 a.m., Elaine handed Zaria the key. "You do the honors, dear." With a deep breath, Zaria unlocked the door and flipped the sign to open. People streamed in, exclaiming over the beautiful new space. The cash register rang steadily as customers purchased flowers, plants and gift items. The small cafe area filled with people chatting over coffee. Zaria moved through the crowd, greeting customers, answering questions, feeling more confident with each interaction. This was her vision coming to life, her talent being recognized. At noon, the bell over the door jingled. Zaria looked up, expecting to see Cassian. Instead, a tall, elegant blonde woman stood in the doorway, looking around with a critical eye. "Can I help you?" Zaria asked, approaching her. The woman turned, her cold blue eyes assessing Zaria from head to toe. "So you're Zaria Bell," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "I expected someone more." Zaria frowned. "I'm sorry. Do I know you?" "No, but I know all about you," the woman said. "The teacher who got left at the altar. How tragic." Zaria felt her cheeks flush. "I think you should leave." "Oh, I'm not going anywhere," the woman said, stepping closer. "Not until we have a little chat about Cassian Vale." Zaria's stomach dropped. "Who are you?" "Angela Winters," the woman said with a cruel smile. "Cassian's fiancée." The room seemed to tilt. "Ex-fiancée," Zaria corrected, trying to keep her voice steady. "From 5 years ago." Angela laughed, a brittle sound. "Is that what he told you?" Poor naive little Zaria, always believing what men tell you. "What are you talking about?" "Cassian and I never broke up," Angela said, loud enough for nearby customers to hear. "We've been together all along. He just likes to play with other women occasionally. Gives him a thrill." Zaria shook her head. "You're lying." "Am I?" Angela pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. "Then how do you explain these?" She showed Zaria a series of pictures. Cassian and Angela at what appeared to be a recent event, his arm around her waist. Cassian and Angela having dinner at an intimate restaurant. Cassian kissing Angela's cheek. "These are old," Zaria said, but doubt crept into her voice. "Or photoshopped." "Check the dates," Angela said. "Last week, the night he told you he was at a business dinner. He was with me. Where do you think he goes all those nights when he says he's working late?" Zaria felt sick. Could it be true? Was Cassian living a double life? "I don't believe you," she said, but her voice wavered. "Believe what you want," Angela said with a shrug. "But ask yourself this. Why would a man like Cassian Vale be interested in someone like you? A failed teacher working in a flower shop? You were just a charity case, honey. Something to make him feel good about himself." Tears stung Zaria's eyes. "Get out now." "Gladly," Angela said, turning to leave. At the door she paused. "Oh, and don't bother calling him. He's in a meeting with his board of directors all day, or so he told you. She smiled sweetly. He's actually taking me to lunch at La Mer, our favorite place. She walked out, leaving Zaria standing in the middle of the shop, customers staring at her with curiosity and pity, the same looks she had received at the chapel. Elaine hurried over. "Who was that woman? What did she say to upset you?" "It's nothing," Zaria said, wiping her eyes. "Just someone from the past." She excused herself and went to the back room, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. She called Cassian. It went straight to voicemail. She texted him. No response. Angela's words echoed in her mind. Why would a man like Cassian Vale be interested in someone like her? Maybe she had been fooling herself all along. Maybe she was just a distraction, a temporary amusement for him. "Zaria?" Elaine's voice came from behind her. "There's someone here to see you." Zaria turned, hoping it was Cassian come to explain everything. Instead, Marcus stood in the doorway, his face a mask of concern. "I heard what happened," he said. "Angela came to see you." "You know her?" Zaria asked, though she already knew the answer. "She contacted me after I lost my job," Marcus admitted. "Said she wanted to help me get back at Vale. I didn't know she was going to come here today, I swear." "But you knew about her? About her and Cassian?" Marcus looked uncomfortable. "Everyone at Vale Tech knows. It's the company's worst-kept secret. That's why I tried to warn you." Zaria felt her world crumbling around her. Again. "Why are you here, Marcus?" "To see if you're okay," he said, taking a step toward her. "I still care about you, Z. I made a terrible mistake, and I'm sorry. But I never lied to you. I never lived a double life." Zaria laughed bitterly. "No, you just humiliated me in front of the entire town. At least I didn't pretend to be something I'm not," Marcus said. "Vale's been playing you, Zaria. He's been laughing at you behind your back this whole time." Zaria felt sick. Could it be true? Had Cassian been using her all along? Had she been so desperate for love and validation that she'd fallen for another lie? "I need to be alone," she said, her voice breaking. "Zaria, please, Marcus, just go." After he left, Zaria sat in the back room, staring at her phone. Still no word from Cassian. She tried calling again. Voicemail. She Googled La Mer restaurant and found it was an exclusive place downtown. Before she could talk herself out of it, she called an Uber. Cassian checked his watch for the third time, frowning. The board meeting was running late, and he had promised Zaria he would be at the flower shop's reopening by noon. It was already 12:30. "Is there somewhere you need to be, Mr. Vale?" asked Howard Jennings, the chairman of the board. "Yes, actually," Cassian said, standing up. "I apologize, but this meeting will have to continue without me. I've presented my proposal for the new satellite office, and I trust you all to make the right decision." There were murmurs of surprise. Cassian Vale never left meetings early. Business had always been his top priority, but Cassian was already heading for the door. "Send me your decision by email," he called over his shoulder. In the elevator, he checked his phone, which he had silenced for the meeting. 3 missed calls and 2 texts from Zaria. His heart sank. He had missed the reopening. He called her immediately, but it went to voicemail. "Zaria, I'm so sorry. The board meeting ran long. I'm on my way to the shop now. I love you." He rushed to his car, cursing the traffic that slowed his progress. When he finally arrived at the flower shop, it was bustling with customers, but there was no sign of Zaria. "Where is she?" he asked Elaine. "She left about 20 minutes ago," Elaine said, concern etched on her face. "She was upset. Some blonde woman came in, said some horrible things. Then that ex-fiancé of hers showed up." Cassian's blood ran cold. "Angela and Marcus were here? Together?" "Not together," Elaine said. "The woman came first, then left. The man came afterward." "What did Angela say to her?" Cassian demanded. "I don't know exactly," Elaine said. "But she showed Zaria something on her phone that made her cry. And she mentioned a restaurant, La Mer, I think." Cassian's face darkened. "I need to find her." He tried calling Zaria again as he ran back to his car. Still no answer. He drove to her apartment. Empty. He drove to his house, hoping she might have gone there. No sign of her. Finally, with a sense of dread, he drove to La Mer. Zaria sat in her Uber across the street from La Mer, watching the entrance. Her heart hammered in her chest. What was she doing here, spying on Cassian? She had become the kind of woman she never wanted to be. Suspicious, insecure, desperate. Just as she was about to tell the driver to take her home, a familiar figure emerged from the restaurant. Angela Winters, laughing, her arm linked with a man's, not Cassian. The man was older, grey-haired, wearing an expensive suit. They kissed before getting into a waiting car. Confusion washed over Zarya. If Cassian wasn't with Angela, where was he? Had Angela lied about everything? Her phone buzzed with another call from Cassian. This time she answered. Zarya, thank God. Cassian's voice was tight with worry. Where are you? Outside La Mer, she admitted. There was a moment of silence. Why? Angela came to the shop, Zarya said, her voice small. She said you were having lunch with her here, that you two never broke up, that I was just a charity case. Cassian swore under his breath. None of that is true. I was in a board meeting all morning. I'm so sorry I missed the reopening. I'm looking for you now. I just saw her, Zarya said, coming out of the restaurant with some other man. Harold Winters, Cassian said. Her husband. They married 3 years ago. Husband? Zarya felt dizzy with relief and confusion. But she showed me pictures of you together. Recent ones. Photoshopped. Or old ones with fake dates, Cassian said. Angela has been trying to sabotage me for years, and now she's using you to do it. His voice softened. Where exactly are you? I'm coming to get you. Zarya gave him her location, then sat back, her mind racing. Angela had lied. But why? What did she gain by hurting Zarya? 10 minutes later, Cassian's car pulled up beside her Uber. He got out, his face lined with worry. Zarya stepped out to meet him. I'm sorry, she said, fresh tears springing to her eyes. I should have trusted you. Cassian pulled her into his arms. No, I'm sorry, I should have warned you about Angela. I just didn't think she'd go this far. Marcus was in on it too, Zarya said against his chest. He came to the shop right after she left, told me everyone at Vailtech knew about you and Angela. Cassian's arms tightened around her. That's a lie. Angela and I have had no contact since I called off our wedding 5 years ago. She married Harold Winters, one of my biggest competitors, and she's been trying to take down Vailtech ever since. But why come after me? Zarya asked, pulling back to look at him. I'm nothing in all of this. You're everything to me, Cassian said fiercely. And they know that. They're trying to hurt me by hurting you. Zarya felt a chill run through her. What do we do? First, we get you somewhere safe, Cassian said, leading her to his car. Then I make some calls. Angela has gone too far this time. Back at Cassian's house, Zarya sat on the couch, a cup of tea growing cold in her hands. Cassian was on the phone in his office, his voice raised. She had never heard him angry before. When he finally emerged, his face was grim. Angela has been spreading rumors about us to my investors, saying I'm unstable, that I've been making poor business decisions because I'm distracted by my romantic problems. Can she do that? Zarya asked. Not without consequences, Cassian said. My lawyers are already preparing a defamation suit. He sat beside her, taking her hands in his. I'm so sorry you got caught in the middle of this, Zarya. This is exactly why I've kept to myself all these years. Everyone I care about becomes a target. I'm not fragile, Cassian, Zarya said. I survived being left at the altar in front of the whole town. I can handle your crazy ex. Cassian smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. It's not just Angela. Here it's the press, the competitors, the people who want what I have. Being with me means living in a fishbowl. Zarya felt her heart sink. Are you saying you don't want to be with me anymore? No, Cassian said quickly. I'm saying I need you to be sure that I'm worth all of this. He gestured around them. The lies, the gossip, the public scrutiny. You think I care about any of that? Zarya asked. I think you've been hurt enough, Cassian said. I think you deserve a quiet, peaceful life, and I can't give you that. Zarya felt a spark of anger. Don't decide what I deserve, Cassian. That's for me to choose. Zarya. No, she interrupted. I spent years letting other people tell me what I should want, who I should be. Marcus, my parents, everyone. I'm done with that. She stood up, pacing the room. Yes, today was hard. Yes, I doubted you, doubted us. But that's on me, not you. I let my insecurities get the better of me. You had every right to be suspicious, Cassian said. After what Marcus did. This isn't about Marcus, Zarya said firmly. It's about us, about whether we trust each other enough to fight for this relationship. Cassian was quiet for a long moment, watching her. You're amazing, you know that, he said finally. Most people would be running for the hills right now. I'm not most people, Zarya said, and neither are you. He stood, crossing to her. No, you're not. You're extraordinary. He took her face in his hands. And if you're willing to fight for us, then so am I. Zarya smiled up at him. Then we're in this together. Cassian kissed her, pouring all his love and fear and hope into it. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Together, he agreed. The next morning, Zaria woke in Cassian's bed, the sun streaming through the windows. She had stayed the night, too emotionally exhausted to go home. They had talked for hours, about Angela and Marcus, about their fears and hopes, about the future. Cassian was already up. She could hear him moving around in the kitchen downstairs. She stretched, feeling oddly at peace, despite everything that had happened. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Elaine. "Are you all right, dear? The shop is doing fine, but I'm worried about you." Zaria smiled, touched by the older woman's concern. "I'm fine," she texted back, "with Cassian. We'll explain everything later." She got up, borrowing one of Cassian's shirts, and padded downstairs. The smell of coffee and pancakes greeted her. "Good morning," Cassian said, looking up from the stove. His eyes softened as he took in the sight of her in his shirt. "I was going to bring you breakfast in bed." "This is better," Zaria said, coming to kiss him. "I like seeing you like this." "Domestique," he smiled against her lips. "I could get used to it." They ate breakfast together, planning their day. Zaria would go back to the flower shop, finish the grand reopening celebration. Cassian would meet with his lawyers about Angela, then join her later. "Are you sure you're ready to go back there?" Cassian asked. "After yesterday?" "I'm not hiding," Zaria said firmly. "Angela wanted to scare me off, make me doubt you. I'm not giving her that satisfaction." Cassian looked at her with admiration. "You're the strongest person I know." After breakfast, Cassian drove her back to her apartment to change. As they pulled up, Zaria noticed a small crowd gathered on the sidewalk. "What's going on?" she wondered. As they got closer, Zaria's heart sank. Someone had spray painted across her front door. "Home wrecker." "Angela!" Cassian growled, putting an arm around Zaria protectively. Neighbors were taking pictures. Some pointed at them, whispering. Zaria felt sick, remembering the chapel, the whispers, the phones recording her shame. But this time was different. This time she wasn't alone. "Let's go inside," she said, holding her head high. "I need to change for work." Cassian looked at her with concern. "Zaria, maybe you should take the day off." "No," she said firmly. "That's what they want. For me to hide, to be ashamed. I'm done being a victim, Cassian." He smiled, squeezing her hand. "That's my girl." They walked through the crowd together, ignoring the stares and whispers. Inside her apartment, Cassian called a cleaning service while Zaria got ready for work. She chose a bright yellow dress, bold and cheerful, not the outfit of someone who was beaten down or ashamed. When they stepped back outside, the graffiti was already being cleaned off, and most of the crowd had dispersed. But one person remained, watching from across the street. Marcus. Zaria felt Cassian tense beside her. She put a hand on his arm. "Let me handle this." She crossed the street, stopping in front of Marcus. "Haven't you done enough?" she asked. "I didn't do that," Marcus said, nodding toward her apartment. "That was all Angela." "But you helped her hurt me," Zaria said. "Why, Marcus? What did I ever do to you except love you?" Marcus had the grace to look ashamed. "I was angry. At Vale for firing me. At you for moving on so quickly. I wanted to hurt you both." "Well, you failed," Zaria said. "You can't hurt me anymore, Marcus. I'm not that person anymore." "I can see that," Marcus said, looking past her to where Cassian stood watching them. "He really loves you, doesn't he?" "Yes," Zaria said simply. "And I love him." Marcus nodded, his face sad. "I'm sorry, Z, for everything. For the wedding, for helping Angela. All of it." "I believe you," Zaria said, "but it doesn't change anything." "I know," Marcus said. "I just wanted you to know. And to warn you, Angela isn't done. She's obsessed with destroying Vale. And now you too." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because despite everything, I don't want to see you hurt," Marcus said. "And because I'm done being her puppet. I'm leaving town, starting fresh somewhere else." Zaria studied him, trying to see the man she had once loved enough to marry. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Marcus." "I hope so too," he said. He hesitated, then turned to go. "Be careful, Zaria. Angela is dangerous." Zaria watched him walk away, feeling a strange sense of closure. When she returned to Cassian, he looked at her questioningly. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yes," Zaria said, surprising herself with how true it felt. "Everything is perfect." But as Cassian drove her to the flower shop, Zaria couldn't shake Marcus's warning from her mind. Angela wasn't done, and if Marcus was to be believed, the worst was yet to come. The rest of the day passed in a blur of customers and congratulations. The flower shop's reopening was a success, with many people coming in specifically to support Zaria. after word spread about the graffiti incident. "You're quite the local celebrity," Elaine teased as they counted the day's receipts. "Not by choice," Zarya said with a small smile. "Well, whatever the reason, it's good for business," Elaine said. "We sold out of every arrangement you designed." Cassian arrived just as they were closing, a bouquet of wildflowers in his hand. "For the most talented florist in town," he said, presenting them to Zarya. "Charmer," she said, accepting them with a kiss. "How was your day?" he asked, helping her into her coat. "Surprisingly good," Zarya said. "Turns out, not everyone believes nasty rumors." "The truth has a way of coming out," Cassian said. They said goodbye to Elaine and walked to Cassian's car, hand in hand. The evening was cool but pleasant, the streets quieter now that rush hour had passed. "I was thinking," Cassian said as they drove, "maybe it's time we took a little break, got away from all this drama for a while." "A vacation?" Zarya asked, surprised. "Don't you have a company to run?" "The company will survive without me for a week," Cassian said. "I have a house on the coast, private, peaceful. We could go this weekend." Zarya considered it. A week away with Cassian, far from Angela's schemes and Marcus's warnings, sounded heavenly. "I'd have to ask Elaine if she can manage without me." "Of course," Cassian said. "Just think about it." They arrived at Zarya's apartment building. The door had been repainted, all traces of the graffiti gone. "Will you stay tonight?" Zarya asked as they went inside. "I'd love to," Cassian said, "but I have an early meeting tomorrow that I can't reschedule. How about dinner at my place tomorrow night? I'll cook." "You cook?" Zarya asked, with a teasing smile. "I have many hidden talents," Cassian said, pulling her close. "I bet you do," Zarya murmured against his lips. Later, after Cassian had gone, Zarya prepared for bed, her mind full of plans for their weekend getaway. Despite everything that had happened, she felt hopeful. She and Cassian had weathered their first real storm as a couple, and they had come out stronger. As she was brushing her teeth, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Is this Zarya Bell?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Rebecca Jenkins. I'm Cassian Vale's assistant." Zarya frowned. Why would Cassian's assistant be calling her this late? "Is everything all right?" "I'm not sure," Rebecca said, her voice hesitant. "I shouldn't be calling you, but I think you should know something." "What?" Zarya asked, her stomach tightening. "Mr. Vale isn't in an early meeting tomorrow," Rebecca said. "He's meeting with Angela Winters at his house. He specifically asked me not to tell anyone, especially you." Zarya felt the room spin. "That can't be right." "I'm sorry," Rebecca said. "I thought you should know. He's been acting strange lately, secretive, and he and Ms. Winters have been in contact for weeks." The phone slipped from Zarya's nerveless fingers, clattering to the floor. Cassian was meeting with Angela, in secret, after everything that had happened. She picked up the phone with shaking hands. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've worked for Mr. Vale for 6 years," Rebecca said, "and I've never seen him as happy as he's been since he met you. Whatever Ms. Winters is up to, I don't want to see her hurt him, or you." "Thank you," Zarya said mechanically. "I have to go." She hung up, her mind racing. Could it be true? Was Cassian secretly meeting with Angela? Or was this just another part of Angela's plan to drive them apart? She tried to call Cassian, but his phone went straight to voicemail. She texted him, "Call me when you get this. It's important." Then she sat on the edge of her bed, her heart pounding. What if everything had been a lie? What if Marcus had been right all along? What if Cassian was just playing with her, using her? No, she refused to believe it. She had seen the love in Cassian's eyes, felt it in his touch, heard it in his voice. That couldn't be faked, could it? She looked at the bracelet on her wrist, the tiny piano charm catching the light. Cassian had given it to her as a symbol of her finding herself again. He had encouraged her to play, to manage the flower shop, to be strong. Those weren't the actions of someone who was using her. Those were the actions of someone who loved her. Zarya made a decision. Tomorrow morning she would go to Cassian's house, not to spy or accuse, but to hear the truth from him directly. Whatever was going on with Angela, they would face it together. As she finally drifted off to sleep, Zarya had no idea that across town, Angela Winters was also making plans. Plans that would test Zarya's newfound strength and Cassian's love to their limits. "Everything is ready," Angela said into her phone. "By this time tomorrow, Cassian Vale will lose everything. His company, his reputation?" She smiled coldly. "And that pathetic little flower shop girl he's so infatuated with." On the other end of the line, a man's voice responded, "And I'll finally get what's mine, Vale Tech." "Yes, Harold," Angela purred. You'll get the company and I'll get my revenge. The stage was set for a final confrontation, and this time there would be no happy ending, or so Angela thought. Zarya barely slept that night. By 6 in the morning she was already dressed and ready, pacing her small apartment. She tried calling Cassian again. Still no answer. The doubt that she had pushed away last night crept back in. What if Rebecca was telling the truth? What if Cassian really was meeting with Angela in secret? No, she refused to let Angela win by making her doubt Cassian again. This time, she would face the situation head-on. At 7:30, she called Elaine. "I need the morning off," she explained. "It's important. Take all the time you need, dear," Elaine said. "After yesterday's success, you've earned it." By 8, Zarya was in an Uber headed to Cassian's house, her hands twisted nervously in her lap. What would she say if Angela was really there? What would she do if Cassian had been lying to her all along? The car pulled up to the iron gates of Cassian's estate. Zarya took a deep breath and pressed the intercom button. "Yes?" came a woman's voice. Not Cassian's housekeeper, Maria, whom Zarya had met several times. This voice was cool, polished, familiar. Zarya's heart sank. "I'm here to see Cassian." "I'm afraid Mr. Vale is unavailable at the moment," the voice said. And now Zarya was certain. It was Angela. "Perhaps you could come back later." Zarya's fingers tightened around her purse strap. "Open the gate, Angela. I know you're in there with him." There was a pause, then a low laugh. "Well, well. The little flower shop girl has some spine after all. Come on in then. This should be interesting." The gates swung open. Zarya walked up the long driveway, her determination growing with each step. She wouldn't run away this time. She wouldn't hide. Whatever was going on, she would face it. The front door opened before she reached it. Angela stood there, immaculately dressed in a white pantsuit, her blonde hair perfect, her red lips curved in a mocking smile. "Welcome to Casa Vale," she said, stepping aside to let Zarya enter. "Cassian's in his study. Follow me." Zarya followed Angela through the grand foyer, past the living room where she and Cassian had spent so many evenings talking and laughing, down the hallway to Cassian's study. Angela knocked once, then pushed the door open without waiting for a response. "Darling, you have a visitor," she called in a sing-song voice. Cassian was sitting behind his desk, looking tired and tense. His eyes widened when he saw Zarya. "Zarya, what are you doing here?" Before she could answer, a man stepped out from the corner of the room, tall, distinguished, with silver hair and cold eyes. He looked Zarya up and down with obvious disdain. "So this is the famous Zarya Bell," he said. "I must say you're not what I expected." "Harold Winters," Angela said by way of introduction. "My husband, and Cassian's soon-to-be business partner." Zarya looked at Cassian, confusion and hurt in her eyes. "What's going on?" Cassian stood, moving around the desk toward her. "This isn't what it looks like, Zarya." "It never is it?" Angela said with a laugh. Poor Zarya, always the last to know. "Be quiet, Angela," Cassian snapped. He took Zarya's hands in his. "They showed up here this morning unannounced. They said they had information about Marcus, that he was planning to go to the press with false stories about Vale Tech. I agreed to hear them out. And a very profitable conversation it's been," Harold said, stepping forward. "We've just made Cassian an offer he can't refuse." "What kind of offer?" Zarya asked, looking between them. "A merger," Angela said, her eyes gleaming. "Vale Tech and Winters Communications joining forces, with Harold as CEO, of course." "And what does Cassian get?" Zarya asked. "A very generous payout," Harold said, "and immunity from certain embarrassing revelations." "Blackmail," Zarya said flatly. "You're blackmailing him," Angela clapped slowly. "Not as dumb as you look, are you? Yes, we have evidence that Cassian has been engaging in some rather unethical business practices. Nothing illegal, just questionable. Enough to spook investors, crash Vale Tech stock and ruin his reputation forever. It's all fabricated," Cassian said to Zarya. "But it's convincing. They've been planning this for years, building a case against me by twisting facts, manipulating data. And now it's time to pay up," Harold said. "Sign the papers, Vale, or watch everything you've built crumble to dust." Cassian's jaw tightened. He looked at Zarya, his eyes full of apology. "I was going to call you after they left. Explain everything." "Your assistant called me," Zarya said. "Last night. She said you were meeting Angela secretly." "Rebecca," Cassian frowned. "That's impossible. She's on vacation in Europe, has been for a week." Angela laughed. "Oh, that was one of my little tricks. Amazing what you can do with voice manipulation software these days." Zarya felt a surge of relief. so Cassian hadn't been deceiving her. Angela had been lying all along. "Why are you doing this?" she asked Angela. "Why go to all this trouble?" "Because he humiliated me," Angela hissed, her polished veneer cracking. "He left me a week before our wedding." "Me? No one leaves Angela Winters." "You were cheating on me," Cassian said, "with my best friend. You were only marrying me for my money." "That's business," Angela said dismissively. "Nothing personal, until you made it personal by dumping me publicly." "So this is all about your wounded pride?" Zaria asked incredulously. "You're trying to destroy a man's company, his reputation, his life, because he hurt your feelings 5 years ago." Angela's eyes narrowed. "You have no idea what it's like to be humiliated in front of everyone you know." Zaria laughed bitterly. "Don't I? I was left at the altar 3 months ago. The video went viral. People I've never met were making memes about me. So yes, I know exactly what it feels like." "Then you should understand," Angela said. "The need for revenge, the need to make them pay." "What I understand," Zaria said, stepping closer to Angela, "is that living well is the best revenge, and that holding on to hate only hurts yourself." Angela snorted. "How noble, how utterly predictable." "Enough chit-chat," Harold interrupted. "Vale, sign the papers or we release the evidence. You have 1 hour to decide." Cassian looked at the documents on his desk, his face grim. "I need to speak with Zaria. Alone." "By all means," Angela said with a smirk. "Say your goodbyes. Once this merger goes through, I'm afraid Cassian won't have time for little dalliances anymore." She and Harold left the study, closing the door behind them. As soon as they were gone, Cassian pulled Zaria into his arms. "I'm so sorry you got dragged into this," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I never wanted my problems to touch you." "Your problems are my problems now," Zaria said, holding him tight. "We're in this together, remember?" Cassian pulled back, looking into her eyes. "I can't sign those papers, Zaria. Vailtech is my life's work. I built it from nothing. So what do we do?" Cassian ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know. The evidence they've fabricated is convincing. If they release it, the damage will be done before I can prove it's false." Zaria thought for a moment. "What if we got them to admit it's fake? On record? How?" A slow smile spread across Zaria's face. "I have an idea, but I'm going to need your trust." "You have it," Cassian said immediately. "Completely." Zaria nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "Call them back in. Tell them you need more time to think about it. That you want them to leave the documents with you. They'll never agree to that." "They will if you convince them you're seriously considering their offer," Zaria said. "You're a businessman, Cassian. Negotiate." Cassian studied her face. "What are you planning?" "The less you know, the better," Zaria said. "Just trust me." Cassian pressed a button on his desk. "Angela, Harold, could you come back in, please?" They returned, looking smug. "Decision time," Harold said. "What's it going to be, Vale?" "I need more time," Cassian said. "This is a major decision that affects hundreds of employees, not just me." "You don't have more time," Angela snapped. "Sign now, or we release the evidence." "At least leave the documents with me," Cassian said. "Let me review them properly." "So you can have your lawyers find loopholes?" "I don't think so," Harold said. "No lawyers," Cassian promised. "Just me. Give me until tomorrow morning." Angela and Harold exchanged looks. "Fine," Harold said finally. "But if we don't have your signature by 9 a.m. tomorrow, we're going public with everything. And just to make sure you don't try anything clever," Angela added, "I'll be staying at the Meridian Hotel downtown, room 1214. You can bring the signed documents there personally." "Fine," Cassian agreed. After they left, Zaria turned to Cassian. "The Meridian Hotel, that's where we're going." "What? Why?" "Because that's where we're going to get our evidence," Zaria said. "But first I need to make a call." At 7 that evening, Zaria walked into the lobby of the Meridian Hotel, her heart pounding. She wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. She looked confident, put together. Not at all like a woman on the verge of confronting her boyfriend's vengeful ex. She took the elevator to the 12th floor, rehearsing what she would say in her mind. This had to work. Everything depended on it. She knocked on the door of room 1214. Angela opened it, surprise crossing her face before she masked it with a sneer. "Well, well, the flower shop girl all alone. Where's Cassian?" "He's not coming," Zaria said. "I am." Angela raised an eyebrow. "And why would I want to talk to you?" "Because I have a proposition for you," Zaria said. "One that gets you what you really want." Angela studied her for a moment, then stepped aside. This should be amusing at least. Zaria entered the suite, noting the laptop open on the desk, files spread out beside it. Harold was nowhere to be seen. "Where's your husband?" Zaria asked. "Business dinner," Angela said dismissively. "Now what's this proposition?" Zaria took a deep breath. "I want you to leave Cassian alone. Drop this blackmail scheme, destroy the fake evidence, and move on with your life." Angela laughed. "And why would I do that?" "Because I'll give you what you really want," Zaria said. "The chance to humiliate me publicly, to finish what Marcus started." Angela's eyes narrowed. "I'm listening. You arrange a press conference. Announce that Cassian and I have broken up because he's reuniting with you. Say whatever you want about me, that I was just a rebound, that I was using him for his money, that I wasn't good enough for him. Make me the laughingstock again. And in return, you destroy the evidence against Cassian and never threaten him or Vailtech again." Angela walked slowly around Zaria, like a predator circling prey. "Why would you do that? Subject yourself to public humiliation to protect him." "Because I love him," Zaria said simply. "And because I know that's what you really want. To hurt me, to prove you're better than me. This way you get that satisfaction without destroying an innocent man's life's work." Angela stopped in front of her, studying her face. "You'd really do that for him? Sacrifice your pride, your dignity?" "Yes," Zaria said without hesitation. A slow smile spread across Angela's face. How noble, how utterly pathetic. She moved to the desk, picking up her phone. "You know what? I think I'll take you up on that offer, but with one small change." "What change?" "I'm going to record this conversation," Angela said, tapping her phone screen. "I want Cassian to hear how willing you were to throw yourself under the bus for him, how desperate and clingy you are. That should be the final nail in the coffin of your relationship." She set the phone down, the record button glowing red. "So, let's start again. You want me to leave Cassian alone, and in return, you'll let me publicly humiliate you, is that right?" "Yes," Zaria said, "but only if you admit, on record, that the evidence against Cassian is fabricated." Angela waved a hand dismissively. "Fine, fine. The evidence is fake. Harold and I spent years putting it together, manipulating data, doctoring photos, creating false witnesses. It's all an elaborate lie designed to force Cassian to give up Vailtech." "And why are you doing this?" Zaria prompted. "Because he humiliated me," Angela said, her voice rising. "He left me a week before our wedding. No one does that to Angela Winters. No one. So yes, I created all this fake evidence. Yes, I've been trying to ruin his life for 5 years. And yes, I've been using you to get to him." "Using me how?" Zaria asked. Angela laughed. "Oh, you really want the whole confession, don't you? Fine. I paid Marcus to leave you at the altar. I'd been watching Cassian for years, knew he went to all his employees' weddings. I knew he'd see you there all alone and pathetic. I knew he'd feel sorry for you." Zaria felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. You paid Marcus to leave me." $10,000, Angela said with a smirk. "He was surprisingly cheap, said he was planning to break it off anyway, might as well get paid for it." Zaria struggled to keep her composure. "So everything, the Instagram post, the blonde woman, all my idea," Angela said proudly. "The woman was my assistant. We needed to make it public, humiliating, had to make sure you were broken enough that Cassian would notice you. But why? What was the point?" "The plan was for Cassian to fall for you, then for me to swoop in and steal him back," Angela explained. "Show him and everyone else that he always comes back to me in the end. But the fool actually fell in love with you." She made a face of disgust. "So we had to switch to plan B, use you to get to him, make him so desperate to protect you that he'd sign over Vailtech to keep you safe. You did all this just for revenge." "Revenge, power, money," Angela shrugged. "The Holy Trinity." Zaria nodded slowly. "I think I have everything I need now." "Good," Angela said, reaching for her phone. "Now, about that press conference." "There won't be a press conference," Zaria said, her voice suddenly strong and clear. She reached into her purse and pulled out her own phone. "Because I have everything I need right here." Angela frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Check your phone," Zaria said. "Is it actually recording?" Angela looked down at her phone. The record button was no longer glowing. In fact, the screen was black. "What did you do?" she demanded. "I didn't do anything," Zaria said. "But my friend James is quite good with technology. He helped me set up a little device that blocks your phone's functions, while recording everything you say on mine." She held up her phone, showing the active recording. "Everything, Angela. Your confession that the evidence is fake, that you paid Marcus to leave me at the altar, that this whole thing was an elaborate revenge scheme." Angela lunged for the phone. "Give me that." Zaria stepped back. "I wouldn't do that if I were you. This recording is already being uploaded to a secure server, and the police are on their way." "The police?" Angela's face paled. You're bluffing. Blackmail is a crime, Zaria said. So is fraud. And conspiracy. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Ms. Winters, police. Open up. Angela's face contorted with rage. You little bitch, you set me up. No, Angela, Zaria said calmly. You set yourself up. 5 years ago, when you decided that revenge was more important than moving on with your life. The knocking came again, louder this time. Police, open the door! Angela's shoulders slumped in defeat. She moved to the door and opened it. 2 police officers stood there with Cassian right behind them. Angela Winters, one officer said. We'd like to ask you some questions about allegations of blackmail and fraud. As the police entered the room, Cassian rushed to Zaria's side. Are you all right? Did she hurt you? I'm fine, Zaria assured him. Better than fine, actually. I got everything, Cassian, her full confession. The evidence is fake. Vailtech is safe. Cassian pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I can't believe you did this. You were amazing. Over his shoulder, Zaria watched as the police handcuffed Angela, reading her rights. Angela's eyes met Zaria's, filled with hatred and defeat. This isn't over, Angela hissed as they led her away. Not by a long shot, but Zaria knew it was over. The nightmare that had begun the day Marcus left her at the altar was finally ending, and a new chapter was beginning. 1 month later, Zaria stood in Cassian's garden, surrounded by flowers in full bloom. The afternoon sun cast a golden glow over everything, making the moment seem almost magical. Are you nervous? Elaine asked, adjusting Zaria's simple white sundress. No, Zaria said truthfully. For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I want to be. After Angela's arrest, everything had moved quickly. The police had found Harold at his business dinner and arrested him too. The fake evidence against Vailtech had been seized and destroyed. Angela and Harold were facing multiple charges of blackmail, fraud and conspiracy. Marcus had come forward voluntarily, confessing his role in the scheme and agreeing to testify against Angela in exchange for immunity. He had left town as promised, sending Zaria a brief email apologizing once more for everything, and in the midst of it all, Cassian had asked Zaria a question, a simple question with a profound answer. It's time, Elaine said, squeezing Zaria's hand. He's waiting for you. Zaria walked through the garden, following the path lined with wildflowers, the same kind Cassian had brought her the day he came to the flower shop. At the end of the path, under an arbor covered in climbing roses, Cassian stood waiting. There was no crowd this time, no audience, just the 2 of them with Elaine and James as witnesses. No white wedding gown, no elaborate decorations, just 2 people who had found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk together in the light. Cassian's eyes filled with love as Zaria approached. He took her hands in his touch gentle yet strong. 3 months ago, he began, his voice clear and sure, I watched you stand alone in a chapel, abandoned by someone who never deserved you. I saw your strength that day, your dignity, even in your deepest pain, and something in me recognized you, not just as someone who needed help, but as someone who could help me find myself again. Zaria smiled through her tears. And I found in you someone who saw me, really saw me, when I was invisible to everyone else, someone who valued my voice when I had been silenced for so long, someone who taught me that love isn't a performance or a prize, but a choice we make every day. I choose you, Zaria, Cassian said, his voice rough with emotion. Today and every day, I choose your strength and your gentleness, your courage and your compassion. I choose the music you're bringing back into your life and the beauty you create with your hands and your heart. I choose you, Cassian, Zaria replied. Today and every day. I choose your quiet wisdom and your steady presence, your brilliance and your kindness. I choose the man who sees beyond surfaces to the truth beneath, who fought for his dreams and now fights for mine. They exchanged simple gold bands, slipping them onto each other's fingers with trembling hands. With this ring, Cassian said, I promise to walk beside you, not ahead or behind, to listen when you speak and hear what you cannot say, to cherish your independence, even as we build our life together. With this ring, Zaria echoed, I promise to stand with you in joy and in sorrow, to be your partner in all things, to remember always that love is not found in grand gestures, but in quiet moments of understanding. Elaine wiped tears from her eyes as she pronounced them husband and wife. James clapped enthusiastically as Cassian drew Zaria into a tender kiss. No photographers captured the moment. No social media posts announced it to the world. This moment belonged only to them, a vow made in the silence of their hearts, witnessed by those who truly cared. Later, as the sun set over the garden, Cassian and Zarya swayed together to music only they could hear. The past, with its pain and betrayals, seemed distant now, overshadowed by the promise of tomorrow. "Are you happy?" Cassian murmured against her hair. "More than I ever thought possible," Zarya answered, looking up at him with eyes full of love. "Are you?" "I found you," Cassian said simply. "How could I be anything but happy?" As twilight deepened around them, they continued their dance, two souls who had found each other in the darkness and created their own light. Their vows, spoken not before a crowd but in the silence of a garden in bloom, echoed in the space between heartbeats, a promise of love that needed no audience to make it real. And in that quiet moment, Zarya understood at last. True love wasn't about being seen by the world. It was about being seen by the one person who mattered most. She had been humiliated in front of the world, until one quiet man reminded her that love isn't a stage, it's a promise. A promise they would keep for all the days to come. 6 months later, Zarya sat at her piano in the sunroom of what was now their home. Her fingers moved confidently over the keys, playing a melody she had composed herself. Through the large windows, she could see the garden where they had exchanged their vows, now dressed in autumn colors. Cassian entered quietly, not wanting to interrupt. He stood in the doorway, watching his wife with a look of pure adoration. When she finished playing, he applauded softly. "That was beautiful," he said. "Is it new?" "I just finished it," Zarya said, smiling up at him. "I'm calling it Vows in the Silence." "Perfect," Cassian said, coming to sit beside her on the bench. "I have news." "Good news or bad news?" Zarya asked. "The best news," Cassian said. "Angela and Harold's trial is over, guilty on all counts. They'll be in prison for at least 5 years. Zarya let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "So it's really over." "It's over," Cassian confirmed. "We can finally move forward without looking over our shoulders." "And what about Vailtech?" "Better than ever," Cassian said. "The board voted unanimously to expand the education initiative. We'll be providing technology to underfunded schools across the country." "I'm so proud of you," Zarya said, leaning her head against his shoulder. "I'm proud of us," Cassian said. "Look at everything we've built together in just a few months." It was true. Besides their marriage, they had created a foundation that combined Cassian's technology expertise with Zarya's background in education. The flower shop had expanded to 3 locations, with Zarya overseeing the company's growth while Elaine managed the original store, and Zarya had started teaching piano to children from low-income families, watching their faces light up as they discovered the joy of music. "We make a good team," Zarya said. "The best," Cassian agreed. He hesitated, then added, "I've been thinking, maybe it's time to expand our team." Zarya looked up at him, her eyes widening as his meaning became clear. "A baby?" Cassian nodded. "If you're ready. If we're ready." Zarya's face broke into a radiant smile. "I think we are." Cassian kissed her, his heart full to bursting with love for this woman who had changed his life in ways he never could have imagined. As they sat together at the piano, planning their future, neither of them regretted the painful paths that had led them to each other. Every tear, every betrayal, every moment of doubt had been worth it to find this, a love built not on grand gestures or public declarations, but on quiet understanding and unwavering trust. A love that had begun in the silence of a deserted chapel and now filled every corner of their lives with its quiet music. A love that needed no audience to make it real. The end